Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is a good day for yet another book video, yet another book haul. I haven't done a book haul I think in almost a year, and so I've been accumulating these books for a while. I did not just go out and shop and buy over 40 books. That would be crazy. It would be very possible. I have probably the longest TBR of anyone you've ever met, but let's just get right into it. I do also want to say most of the books that I buy are thrifted. I feel like you can tell. So I have not read any of these books before, but that doesn't mean other people have not already read them. I love to thrift my books. I try to thrift as many as possible. So I would say 90 to 95% of these books were thrifted, which I just think is really exciting, especially when I find a thrift store that has books for literally 25 cents. I'm like, yeah, give them all to me. Anyways, we're actually going to start with a book that I got from, this might have been from a free little library actually, because I try to at least once a year do a big D-haul. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I try to get rid of my books at least once a year, and I love Ellen Hildebrand. I'm trying to read every single one of her books. So of course, anytime I'm thrifting and I see an Ellen Hildebrand book, I'm gonna grab it. This one is the Blue Bistro, and it's this little like tiny cover. I don't know if you can tell how small it is, but I've actually started really liking these small covers, particularly if I'm laying in bed. I feel like I can actually like lay in bed and hold it nicely. I used to be the biggest hater of these small little, are they called airplane books? I don't know, but I feel like that name sounds right. But anyway, this book is about our main character. Her name is Adrienne, and I think she's either just moved to Nantucket or she is there on Nantucket for the summer and she's trying to get a job, and she gets a job at the Blue Bistro and immediately makes a romantic connection. But it sounds like there's something a little bit weird, a little bit off going on at the Blue Bistro, so I'm sure we're gonna figure out what goes on. I feel like a lot of Ellen Hildebrand's books are very character focused, but they normally also have some type of romance element to them or mystery element to them, and I really like that about her books. So I will probably wait until summertime to read this one. I feel like that's when I read most of my Ellen Hildebrand books, but I'm very excited to read this. And then the next book I have, I'm very excited that I thrifted this. This is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This book is about this coffee shop where you get to go, I think it's one specific moment in time in your life, potentially. I don't know, obviously I haven't read it yet, but you basically get to spend a moment in time and you only have until your coffee gets cold in that time, which I just think sounds so fascinating. There's a bunch of these books out now at this point. It looks like there's at least 3 more, which sounds so fun and interesting, and I'm obsessed with this cover. I think it's so cute. And then this next little stack here, I've literally had these books sitting on my shelf waiting to be in a reading vlog for so long, and I'm sorry that they're out of order. I had them in order, and then my cat was playing on my shelves like forever ago and she knocked them over, and then they haven't been in the right order since. But this is the entire Shatter Me series, and I've been really wanting to do an entire reading vlog of reading these books because I haven't read them at all. I haven't read a single one of them, and I love doing that with series. I love just binging them and filming a reading vlog, and I do a good amount of those on my channel, so this is one of them that you can look forward to. Hopefully in 2026 I will do that, but like I said, I've had these sitting on my shelf for a while and I really just want to get to them. And from what I remember about this series is that I think it actually started originally as just 3 books. I think it started as a trilogy, and it is a dystopian YA, and I think that's honestly all I know about this book, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I'm shocked that I don't know more about this series because it's been out for a while and it is such a popular series. But when I was like in my YA prime, I used to love dystopian books like so much, so I feel like this is gonna just really speak to my inner child. I just realized every single copy of the paperbacks that I have has this annoying little sticker on it. Like, it's one of those stickers that you can't get off. Put me in contact with someone at publishing, okay? I'm gonna have a talk with you about these little fake stickers, okay? And then I believe this next book is a nonfiction book. It's In Defense of Food, an Eater's Manifesto. I'm actually not fully sure, but I have a couple books like this, and I'm trying to get more into nonfiction books, and I don't think that this is specifically a nutrition book, but I do want to learn more about nutrition and then just food in general. Also, this book really calls me out when it comes to eating in front of the TV. It is just my guilty pleasure to eat and watch TV at the same time, but I know it's bad for me, so I gotta stop doing that. It also kind of explains the title on the jacket of the book, which is interesting. It says, "But if real food, the sort of food our great grandmothers would recognize as food, stands in need of a defense, from whom does it need defending? From the food industry on one side and nutritional science on the other. Both stand to gain much from widespread confusion about what to eat, a question that for most of human history, people have been able to answer without expert help. Yet the professionalism of eating has failed to make Americans healthier. 30 years of official nutritional advice has only made us sicker and fatter while ruining countless countless numbers of meals. I just think it's something interesting that I will probably just read slowly like I do for most of my nonfiction books. And you guys know, almost every single year I set a goal to read a certain amount of nonfiction books in the year. And I have not come anywhere close to hitting that goal for 2025. So I gotta get to reading some of these nonfiction books I'm about to haul for you. The next book is very much up my alley. It's a thriller. I love reading thrillers, specifically in the fall time though. But I'm definitely not gonna wait till fall to read this book. At least I hope not. But as you can tell, I've got a lot of books to get through. This is The Woman in the Window, and I don't think I've read any books by this author, but this book, I think it's pretty popular and it just sounds so intriguing. Basically, you have a very nosy neighbor, and across the way, a whole family moves in and she spies something that she should not have seen. And I guess the thriller just kind of goes from there. It says she sees something she shouldn't, her world begins to crumble, and its shocking secrets are laid bare. So I love a good thriller, and hopefully I will love this one. Next book I have is The River King by Alice Hoffman. I have a couple Alice Hoffman books on my want to read, but I actually can't remember if I've read any of her work yet. But this one sounds interesting. I'm not entirely sure what the genre is. It sounds like it starts off with two girls who die, and then you're kind of following the police and our main character and them kind of trying to uncover what's going on with this whole mystery. I don't entirely know, to be honest, but there's something about this book that was really calling my name, and I think I'm just really intrigued in Alice Hoffman to begin with because, like I said, there's multiple of her books that I want to read. And then next I have Sundays at Tiffany's by James Patterson. I've read one other James Patterson book before and I really didn't like it, but I'm gonna give him another chance with this book because the synopsis of this book sounded so intriguing to me. Basically, the book starts off with our main character as a girl, and she doesn't get a lot of attention from her mom, and basically there's only one day of the week where she really can get some attention from her mom, and it's Sundays when they go shopping at Tiffany's. And because our main character is super lonely, she has this imaginary friend, and then the cover kind of makes it sound like years later her imaginary friend comes back and they kind of like have this romance. And then it also mentions some type of twist that goes on, so I'm really intrigued because it sounds like one of the main plot points in this book is going to be the romance, and I don't think I've read a romance with a twist. Now that I think about it, I think I have read romance books with twists in them and I haven't liked them, so we'll see if I like this one. I want to give James Patterson another chance because I feel like he has so many books. Next up I have Seinfeldia, which actually follows the whole behind the scenes and production of Seinfeld, which I used to really love Seinfeld. I haven't seen it in a while because I'm not exactly sure where to stream it on. I know it used to be on Netflix, but I don't have Netflix anymore, so I haven't watched it in a while, but I kind of feel like I want to go back and rewatch it before I read this book because then I feel like this book would hit a little bit more if I did that. But I just remember I used to love that show. Any show, what is it, like the 90s? Does that show take place in the 90s? I don't know, but any show that kind of takes place with that vibe in the 90s I really enjoy. And it's really interesting to me because they even talk about it in the show that it's like a show about nothing, and to me I'm like, no, it's not a show about nothing. Like, you just fall in love with these characters and you just like watch them live their lives, and I feel like that's not nothing. Like, that's interesting to me. So I want to read this, and one of the things that I'm also really just intrigued by is the behind the scenes of any type of TV show, movie, film, theater, play, literally anything like that I find so fascinating. So hopefully I will love the behind the scenes insight that I feel like I'm gonna get with this book. And then next up I have Educated, which is actually a memoir, and some of y'all know I love a good memoir, and I've actually been wanting to read this one for a while. It is by Tara Westover, and I read the synopsis and it sounds like she grew up in a really rural town in, I think, Idaho? Yes, Idaho. And she literally does not go to school until she is 17 years old. And she kind of has this external struggle with the way that she is raised versus the way she kind of wants her life to go. But she goes from literally not stepping foot in a school until age 17 to going to BYU. And I find that really interesting, and I'm really intrigued to read about her life. And I feel like this is a really popular memoir and everyone just has really good things to say about this memoir. So I'm excited to read this one. Uh-oh. How many times have I said excited? Scared. This next book is actually Jack's. It just kind of ended up in my pile of stuff because we went thrifting together and went through the book section, and he picked out this book. This is Seventh Plague by James Rollins. I actually don't know what this is about because, like I said, it's Jack's book. It just kind of ended up with my stuff, but it looks like it's about, this actually sounds really interesting. This is about a professor who is studying in the Sundazi Desert. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I think that's in Egypt, but it sounds like he was brutally because someone had began to mummify his body while he was still alive, and it sounds like he was like kind of researching some type of disease and deadly plagues. as in multiple plagues. And then it sounds like these plagues kind of start to quickly, what is the word I'm looking for? Why did I literally just forget all the words? It starts to spread really fast, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So that sounds interesting. I might also read that. Maybe I'll see if Jack likes that one, and if he does, maybe I'll read it too, or maybe I'll just read it before him. I don't know. Last book from our first stack, I actually thrifted this bad boy. I love to thrift any type of leather-bound book, because I just love leather-bound books. I think they're beautiful. But this is the Iliad by Homer. I don't actually know what this book is about, like, at all, but I already have the Odyssey, and apparently you're supposed to read the Iliad before you read the Odyssey, which I will probably do that. But honestly, even if this book was not the Iliad, I think I would probably have still purchased it because it's so beautiful, and I just love collecting books like these, especially when I can find them from the thrift store. Okay, we are starting our next stack. We're starting off with a bang, actually. This is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This book has been on my TBR for a really long time. It says it combines murder mystery, family saga, love story, and financial intrigue into a complex and atmospheric novel. For some reason, I want to say that this is sci-fi, but I might have actually fully just made that up. And I think I might have made that up because this book intimidates me a lot, and I don't know why. I don't think it would be a sit-down video without my battery dying, but I was basically just saying that I find this book really intriguing. But I'm also, for some reason, very intimidated by it. It's also a whole series, so I have to wait to start this until I'm ready to start another series, and I just don't feel like I'm ready right now, okay? I want to take off some other series first before I start a new one. I say that, but I'm sure I'm gonna start a new one in like 5 days, like who knows. The next book I have is Maybe Next Time, which I haven't heard anyone talk about this book, but the back makes it sound so intriguing. It sounds like Dan and Emma have this like date-iversary, literally 15-year date-iversary, by the way. But it says Emma forgets to write the most important words of all, I love you, and by the end of the day, everything changes. Or does it? Emma is given the chance to rewrite the future if she can just figure out their past. That just sounded intriguing to me. I don't know why, but we'll see if it's good. And then the next book, I actually can't remember if I've seen this movie or not, but if I can't remember, I feel like then if I read the book, that means like I'll have forgotten enough of the movie to read the book and like still enjoy the book and the story. But I kind of feel like I have seen this movie, at least just like based on the back of this book. Like, is this the movie where they spend a lot of time dancing together? If that's this movie, then I have seen it, but that's obviously all I remember from the movie is that they dance together a lot. I can't remember if that's this movie or not. I don't know. I'm probably still gonna read it anyway. Maybe I'll read it in like a year and just hope that my memory gets like swiped and I just forget the whole entire part of this book. I guess movie, since I saw the movie, not the book. Hey, it could end up being different. It probably is. I feel like normally the movie at least has some changes to it. But if you don't know anything about Silver Linings Playbook, I feel kind of silly explaining it because I feel like it's a really popular movie. I don't know if the book was as popular, but I feel like the movie is very popular, and it's a little rom-com, and there's just something about a early 2000s rom-com. Well, actually, it looks like 2012 potentially. I don't know, but I feel like I'm gonna enjoy it because I love a good rom-com. This next book I feel like I've heard people talk about before, which is initially what intrigued me, but the back of the book sounds so interesting because this takes place during World War II, and you guys know my favorite historical fiction books take place during World War II, so I'm always going to pick up a World War II book and just kind of hope for the best. But it sounds like a British spy plane crashes in Nazi-occupied France, and its pilot and passenger are best friends, but only one of the girls has a chance at survival, and it looks like they get arrested and are given a choice to either reveal her mission or face a grisly execution. They'll get the truth out of her, only it won't be what they expect. You can't tell me that doesn't sound so good, especially if you love World War II historical fiction like I do. And then I actually have two Liane Moriarty books back to back. So this one is The Husband's Secret, and both of these Liane Moriarty books you can tell have really been loved. This one still has the little Target sticker on it, which I hate actually. I don't know, like, why do you not just put these stickers on the back, you know, like that drives me crazy. But anyways, I've read multiple Liane Moriarty books before and I really enjoy them. So when I saw that there were a couple of books by her at the thrift store, I was like, yep, you're coming home with me. Anyway, this one really intrigues me, like as in I want to read it right this second. It says, imagine your husband wrote a letter to be opened after his death. Imagine too that the letter contains his deepest, darkest secret, something with the potential to destroy not only the life you have built together, but the lives of others as well. And then imagine that you stumble across that letter while your husband is still very much alive. I'm sorry, what? And this secret better be good, because in my head I'm like picturing the worst of the worst. Like, this secret better be worse than the worst. worst of the worst, you know? So this one really intrigues me. I'll probably read that like ASAP, okay? And then the next Liane Moriarty book I have is What Alice Forgot. It's interesting because this book kind of reminds me of The Husband's Secret, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's literally just because it mentions her husband on the back of the book. This book is about our main character Alice, who is at the gym and she hits her head and loses like 10 years of memory, and basically the last thing that she remembers is having this great life with her husband. I think it says she was pregnant with their first child 10 years ago, and then when she comes back to present day, it is a big shock because they're really on some hard rocky ground. Yet another book that I find interesting. I need to find a new word. I know I do. I just can't think of one. The next book is yet again by an author I already know I love. This is A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not entirely sure, but I also know that this is a movie. I think maybe Netflix picked it up. I'm not entirely sure, but I haven't seen the movie and I'm really intrigued to read this one. I'm also really intrigued to read the entire Beartown trilogy, so that would be great if I could read that this winter, but I don't have it. And I feel like I'm a lot more likely to read a book if I have it physically, even if I don't end up like reading it physically, if that makes sense. Like sometimes I'll own a book physically but still get it from the library and read it on my phone, or I'll listen to the audiobook, things like that. But I actually got this book from a little book sale at my public library, so I only got it for $1. Slay, okay? And I was so excited when I saw this, especially because this book has been on my TBR for a really long time. But basically you have our main character Ove, and he gets new neighbors that move in next door, and basically his entire life changes. He's apparently a really grumpy old guy, but something about these neighbors I guess just kind of bring out some new joy in him, or so I'm assuming. Obviously I haven't read it, but I feel like that's what I've heard about this book, and I've also just heard so many good reviews about this book, so hopefully I will love it as much as everyone else does. This next book, I'm not sure I really have high hopes for it. I was actually looking at this book this morning and I was like, why do I have this book? Because I don't love self-help books. I actually normally hate them whenever I read them, but this is You Are a Badass. It says how to stop doubting your greatness and start living an awesome life. And like I said, this is self-help, and I'm normally the #1 hater of self-help. I don't know what it is. They just normally I normally don't find them helpful at all. And I feel like that's their entire purpose, is to be helpful. So I might give this a chance, I might not. I will probably end up reading the first couple of chapters at least of this, and then I'll decide if I like it or not. I feel like I can't just get rid of a book, you know? I have to at least give it a little bit of a try. This next book sounds so intriguing to me, especially because I haven't heard anyone talk about it. This is The Last Mona Lisa, and it actually is based on a true story, which I had no idea that this even happened until I read the synopsis of this book, and I was like, wait a minute, this sounds like so real that I'm kind of confused. But it is a then and now timeline, and it is following, I think it's following the robbers. Yeah, it looks like it follows the robbers that stole the Mona Lisa in August of 1911. I had no idea that the Mona Lisa was ever stolen, and it looks like it was stolen for 2 years, and this duo of con artists are like selling replicas of this painting and telling people that it's the real painting. And then like I said, it is dual timeline, so in the present it follows a professor and an artist as they hunt for the truth behind his most infamous ancestor, who I guess is one of the people that stole the Mona Lisa. And then it sounds like there's a little bit of a little romance in the present chapters as well. So this sounds right up my alley. A little mystery mixed with a romance. I'll take it. This next book, I think it's the last food-related book I have. This is Kiss the Ground, How the Food You Eat Can Reverse Climate Change, Heal Your Body, and Ultimately Save Our World. This just sounds so interesting to me, and like I said earlier, I'm really interested in like food and the science behind food and the science behind like why we should eat certain food. It's just not something that I've gotten super into, but it's something I want to explore. So hopefully this will scratch that itch for me. And then this next book, I just have a special place for it in my heart because this is Unravel Me by Catherine Brinter, and I actually went to her book signing, and I actually haven't read any of her books before, but I'm so excited to read them. I've actually heard this book compared to what is that book called? Oh, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I don't know why I was really struggling to remember the title of that book, because that's literally a 5-star read for me. All I could remember in the moment was that Abby Jimenez wrote it, and so I had to look her up on Goodreads. But anyways, I've heard this book be compared to that one, and so that just makes me really excited to read this one. And this is also, I think it's a duology. I'm not sure if she's gonna write more in this world or not, but the second book I think follows our main character's sister, and I believe we get kind of like breadcrumbs of that in this book. I'm just so excited that I got to meet her and she signed it for me, and it was so cute. She was so sweet, and this is actually the first time that I've met an author and got my book signed like to Morgan. Well, I did it once as a child, so I should say this is the first time that that's happened as an adult, and I think that's just really exciting. Okay, I'm gonna have to rapid fire through some of these because my camera's overheating, but the next book is Morwood Family Rules, and this just sounds really interesting to me. It's basically about this family who, it's very corrupt. They have a lot of money, a lot of bad things kind of happen, and our main character is literally getting out of jail in the very beginning of the book, and so she kind of gets out of jail and she's like, I am never covering for you guys ever again. Let me take hold of the whole estate. Let me just basically control all these different things. And so we just follow that in the family drama, and I love rich people family drama in books. I don't know what it is, I just love it. And then the next two books, I actually want to go into this series fully blind, so I don't know anything about this series at all, but I thrifted book 2 and book 4. I think this is the Twisted series. So I have Twisted Games and Twisted Lies, and just like with the Shatter Me series, I want to eventually get all of the books in the series, and then I'll just do a massive reading vlog of me reading the series for the first time, which I love to do, like I said, with any popular book series. So this is one of those very popular book series that I just have not read, so I was very excited to see these books in the thrift store. I was shocked that I couldn't find the rest of them in there, but maybe someone had already grabbed them, I don't know. Either way, I'm excited that I could find 2 of them there. And then I have yet another thriller. This is When No One Is Watching, and this book sounds so interesting. It follows the gentrification of Brooklyn, except this gentrification is not what it seems, because our 2 main characters are kind of digging into what's going on, and it says, when does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? And it says on the back, their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. That sounds really interesting to me. I feel like there's a common theme in some of these books that I really like. I just gravitate towards things I like, you know, but also at the same time I feel like some of them are just very different than others. The next book I have is The Burning Girl. This is a YA book, and it sounds like it follows youth friendships. I feel like, especially as being a young girl, those friendships are so important, and so I feel like this is gonna really strike a chord with me. And then this next book I think is the only book that I'm hauling in this video that I've actually already read. This is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I borrowed this book from the library a really long time ago, and so when I saw it from the thrift store, I was very excited. I am, of course, an Emily Henry stan. I feel like most people love her books, and for good reason. And this one I think is a little bit enemies to lovers-ish, but you're following 2 novels and they kind of help each other write their next book. So I love this book, highly recommend it. And like I said, I was just very excited to get my hands on a copy of that book that I can actually like own and read whenever I want. And then I'm gonna rapid fire through my last 5 books because, like I said, my camera is overheating. I have Cloud Cuckoo Land. This book I've wanted to read for a while, and I honestly can't even remember why at this point. And then I have Skipping Christmas. I like to just have at least 1 Christmas book on hand. I was hoping I would get to that this month. I'm not sure if I will. I feel like I have kind of a busy month ahead of me. Next I have Archer's Voice, yet another popular book that I have not read. And this book sounds so interesting to me. This is Swept Away. It is a blind date gone wrong, where our main boy character lives on a boat, and they thought they tied up the boat last night. Turns out they didn't, and they end up waking up to the middle of the ocean. And then my last book, my sister actually gave me. She had to read this for school, and she said she thought I would like it, and this is The Joy Luck Club. And that is all over 40 books that I have bought in the past, I don't know, maybe like 6 to 9 months, and I am definitely done book buying, at least for a while. You already know there's a bunch of books on my Christmas list though, so I will be adding more books to my physical TBR, of course. I feel like I'm always adding more books to them, but I love books, I love reading, and I love being surrounded by books, as you can tell. But thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you've read any of these books, let me know down below which one you think I should start with, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!